Welcome to Rebel Without Applause, where we explore the intersection of sports, entertainment, and culture. I'm your host, Maurice Bob, and today we have two very special guests on the line. Together, they won Grind, the first portable basketball shooting machine that folds neatly into a duffel bag. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marketing Director Maurice Elrod and Founder and CEO Thomas Fields to the program.
What's going on, man? I'm sure I'm probably your first guest with the same name. So we've always had that unique quality about ourselves, man. Another Maurice.
I can count on one hand how many Maurices I've met in real life.
Likewise.
That's funny. Yeah, Maurice, thank you for having us on the show. I'm excited about this opportunity. Appreciate it.
Yeah, same here. One of the first things I like to just kind of get out of the way is, how you guys are holding up during the pandemic.
Man, yeah, that's a big question for everybody. I think we've been doing well, man. Family is good, and most importantly, we've been surviving, grinding, and thriving, man. So blessings are coming down upon us, and couldn't ask for more, man. So definitely good things happening during the pandemic.
Yeah, I would agree, man. It's been a crazy time frame. Just to think, it's been about 6 months. The irony, Mo, is that we launched in March. So our launch was March 2020, and maybe 2 weeks after we launched, the COVID just took over, man, and it was just a crazy time frame. We had to pivot a lot. We had some marketing schemes and concepts that we had to change and adjust, move around. But that's life, man. You got to be able to pivot and be nimble, obviously enough to be able to make things happen at the drop of a dime, because no one expected this to take place. So it's crazy for real, but healthy for sure. No issues there, man. Family's good. Everybody's straight.
Now, see, that's how I know you guys were on the ball, because you use that word pivot, and I think for anyone, no matter what you do, whether it be professional or family wise, whatever the case may be, if you weren't able to pivot during this time, you're going to get left behind, and that's not even necessarily, because there's like, oh, you have to use your time. Sometimes you have to take mental breaks and things like that. But if you're moving forward and you have something to create or put out or to work or whatever the case may be, you have to learn to pivot, because it's a new environment, and just everything about it requires you to be, like you said, nimble, and you got to learn how to pivot. So, I can tell that the stop down or stoppage didn't stop you guys. So, that's the way you go. That's the way you got to roll.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was interesting. Just we launched March 1st of 2020. COVID launched March 14th of 2020.
Launched.
Man, it launched worldwide, right, man? It was crazy, and we had events lined up to bring out the Grind's portable shooting machine to events, and have showcases, and we had a whole plan for our launch ready to go, and 2 weeks in, we had to just mid-air do a 360 spin, turn around, dunk, and figure it out. And Mo came through, with some influencer focuses. We switched our focus from going to events and doing in-person events to a completely digital strategy. So we were able to, hit up a lot of good folks in the industry, like Slam Magazine, that you got a poster right behind you.
Slam family.
Yeah, man. So it was a blessing. So we were able to really pivot on the marketing standpoint, and it was interesting because everybody had to be home, right? So the engagement on social media was just skyrocket at an all-time high. It was really interesting, just to say the least. It was a huge learning curve for us, but it accelerated that learning about our customers because everybody was at home. So now we're understanding a lot, in more depth how they're, buying, purchasing habits, who's looking at it. We had all this wealth of data coming in, so it was really good.
So that's definitely some interesting points I want to get to later, but let's kind of back up a little bit. Anytime that there's, an invention, there's normally a problem that needed solving. And in this case, what was the problem that you saw that the grind shooting machine will solve?
Yeah, man. I mean, I was a high school basketball player, ranked in the city of Houston, graduated in 2014 with guys like Justice Winslow, Justin Jackson, Kelly Oubre right behind me, right, or right above me. And then De'Aaron Fox, coming as an up and coming freshman and sophomore. Yeah, man, I was just trying to compete and be one of the best coming out of Houston. And, long story short, 10th grade year, I started from a freshman on varsity, essentially all 4 years. But sophomore year, I came down with the ACL tear, right? 6 months, 8 months, had to sit down, couldn't touch a ball. And it was hard because everybody that knows, an ACL tear, I mean, it sucks. So before graduating high school, I had torn my ACL 4 times from both knees. It was a crazy ride. I mean, from just basketball being everything to a complete halt. It was wild. But throughout this whole process, I really didn't let it deter my motivation to get to a D1 college. So I was still in the gym, 5 a.m. I was trying to get it. Coach, I need to use the shooting machine that y'all just bought, $5,000. I got to get in there at 5 a.m. And, man, ultimately, 5 a.m. came, I was outside the gym and no coach. The next day, trying to figure it out. I never had access to it like I really wanted to, right? And, during practice, we're running up and down, doing scrimmages. We're not really, developing our skills. And I had lost a whole bunch of time that I needed to develop my own skills. So I really had a really, really big problem, right? So I went online and tried to buy a shooting machine. And all I found was $4,000, $5,000 shooting machines, toe pops. Dad wasn't having it. We're not buying a $5,000 shooting machine. Then I found out
I'm not the way he said it either. We buy no damn.
And 400 pounds is not going nowhere near. We don't have nowhere to put it. It just didn't make sense, right? So it really dawned on me that, just high-end sports equipment wasn't really designed for the athlete. And it just didn't make sense to me as a player. I was like, man, we're dedicating our whole lives to this sport. And there's not a company focused on our actual needs, focused on, designing the products around, how we actually live our lives and dedicate our lives to this sport. And I just felt like that was a fundamental flaw in this industry and it needed solving. So, went in the garage and started learning how to weld with my friend Xavier. And we started pumping out a few of the prototypes. And at that point, Grind was born.
So now this welding and everything else, was this a result of like some YouTube rabbit holes that you just get on YouTube, type in how to weld and go from there?
Man, no, man. So my family's background has just always been like really hard work. Like we just building all kinds of stuff, man. Just dad would always make us go work on the house, whether we liked it or not. So I was always good with my hands. But when this welding came, I was like, okay, we need to figure out, first we got to make this thing portable because I don't have, I didn't have a goal at my house at the time. So I needed to go to the park or to a gym. Right. So I was like, okay, if Nike designed the shooting machine, how would they design it? Right. they got duffel bags, they got all this stuff. So why not put the duffel bag or the shooting machine, make it fold down into a duffel bag where you could take it anywhere, right? Mm-hmm. And well designed, great branding, all that good stuff, all into one great package. So I started there, and I started drawing ideas out. I bought a welding machine, and my friend Xavier he didn't go to college. He went to welding school and he's doing great. But I hit up Zay and was like, man, we need to make this happen. So he wasn't available all the time. So I was always just constantly watching him when he was available to come to my garage and build some of the prototypes. So I was just able to kind of watch, learn, from what he was doing and take from there, So that's kind of how the welding started. But, as we developed and, got into different programs, I ended up going to U of H, taking a step back from business school. And then I got into a program at MIT, and they gave us some capital. At that point, I was able to build like a amazing team around me that was way smarter than me in terms of engineering, mechanical, industrial design, electrical engineering, and like being around those guys. I mean, with master's degrees and PhDs, I mean, you can't help but like learn from these guys, right? So, all in all, 4 years, I look up and I'm a self-taught mechanical engineer and our team is, built the first portable shooting machine. So it was a great experience.
You know what? It's amazing to me how, life always throws, our community curveballs, and we're always able to still find a way to hit the ball out of the park. It may take a couple swings, next thing you know, we're hitting that ball out of the park. And what was interesting to me, you just mentioned how, like you said, you a self-taught mechanical engineer. You watched and you learned, and you took it, step by step, and you could do it yourself. And you mentioned there you had a program with MIT. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that came to fruition? Because I think a lot of times, our community doesn't know about programs like that, for instance, where there are out there, sources and resources for us that can kind of help us bring an idea to reality.
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point, MIT was really another stepping stone from, getting into U of H. I didn't even graduate U of H, but I got into the point where I was able to get into a technology accelerator, is what they call them, right? And the technology accelerator goes in, you apply, you get in with your idea and your prototype, and essentially they try to rip apart your business model and put it back together for you. And while you're putting it back together and fixing things, making it stronger, they try to tear apart your product and put it back together. So that's even stronger. And you build your team, you learn about how to build a company essentially and build a business. So that was Red Labs at U of H. Now MIT was just a step above that. The same concept, tearing the company apart, tearing the products apart, picking your brain, challenging you, throwing you in the fire, and teaching you about different things of different technologies that are coming about. So it was really an opportunity that Red Labs and U of H presented to me, and it was just another stepping stone, and it just continued. It was a snowball effect, right? But I think the important thing is getting started. Like I would have never got to visit MIT and go through their classes if I didn't start with Zay in the garage. You know what I'm saying? It was just like that hard part of day to day to day. And it was actually for like 2 years. Me and Zay was just at it. And I was at it by myself and just jamming some music and trying to build these prototypes. I had to get past that part for, in order to have these opportunities start snowballing, right? Then I met Mo, and Mo had huge network and was, entrenched in the basketball community. That's a funny story that we can go into later and how we met and all that cool stuff. But it was just amazing how getting past that first part that isn't pretty, isn't sexy, that nobody really likes to talk about. Getting past that first part is kind of the gatekeeper of all the other opportunities.
What stands out to me in your story And it just goes back to when you, like you said, you had the ACL injuries. You had to develop a serious level of patience to watch your teammates play and you can't, to try and rehab and come back and everything else. And then, like you said, it took years to kind of bring your idea to kind of fruition or kind of build upon it or keep it going. You know, how did you get that level of patience and, you know, what kind of support did you have to get you through, you know, kind of those kind of stuck in the mud times, if you will?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I love this when people ask this question because I think it's so underlooked. Uh, I look at my mom and dad, you know, whenever my mom came over here from Mexico. My mom is Mexican, my dad is black, right? My dad was into music. So, starting with my mom, you know, just seeing them come from Mexico and get to work and just grind and getting it out the mud, it was just, I knew I had to get dirty, right? It was just no ifs, ands, or buts around it. And I wanted to get dirty because that's where I'm from, you know what I'm saying? So that was always instilled in me from a child, just coming up in my childhood. And then my dad was a music guy, right? So he was a producer and started doing beats for SPM and Lil Flip and, you know, Michael Watts and all these guys. So I grew up on Houston rap when I was coming up. But I remember going to sleep in the jam room. We called it the jam room. It was a studio, a home studio, man. And it was just every time, like he would play the beat over and over and over and over. It was crazy. But I didn't think of it, of nothing back then. But it's interesting. Like if you listen to music, whether it's rap or just the process of making that music, just like an artist, like you have to be persistent at it. It's like no getting around it. Like that's how all this. That's how J. Cole, all these rappers, Jay-Z. I mean, they had they had an end goal, and everything else was just in the way. They just had to get through it, right? And I think I learned a lot of that through music and watching my dad just go through those beats and play that beat over and over, and him changing something that I didn't even know what he changed, but you know, it makes a difference whenever, you know, people hear it and it goes on the radio, right? So, yeah, that persistence is key, man. But I think it just lies in everything that we hear on the radio, and you know, it's all around us, man. We just got to look through it and embrace the process.
Dope. So you know, now I got to hear the story. You know, so Mo, you know, what's your version of this how we met story?
Yeah, man,
That's a cool one, man.
it's crazy. You know, I'm on Instagram, and like every day, this Thomas Fields dude is like liking the picture. I don't know Thomas at all, so I'm like, okay. Every day it was a picture he was liking something, and I had went to a Astros game. I got tickets from a guy that worked in the box office. Man, shout out to my man Nate. And to thank him, I want to take him to dinner. So took him to dinner, and we were just sitting there talking. He was telling me about, you know, just a bunch of just different stuff. We were just kind of just chopping it up over dinner at California Pizza Kitchen, man, and Memorial. And he was like, yeah, man, I'm talking to this guy, man, named Thomas Fields, and he has this portable shooting machine, man. It's called a company called Grind. So I'm like, Thomas Fields. So I remember the name because, you know, Fields is kind of like my last name is Elrod, like yours is Bob, right? It's like a random, you know, last name. So I'm like, okay, I remember this kid. And I remember DMing him that night and was like, hey, man, I've heard about what you got going on. Would love to help. And we met maybe like 2 days later at Cane's. And we've been rocking ever since. That might have been like a little over 2 years ago.
Man, mind you, though, as soon as Mo hit me up, I was just like amazed because when I was growing up as a basketball player in high school in Houston, especially, there was this thing called high school hopefuls, and they would film all the best basketball players, right? So it was art. Like I had a high school hopeful shirt. Like the whole team, the whole squad had the high school hopeful shirt. A whole HISD, man. Anyways, we knew high school hopefuls, right? So, man, just just seeing that like somebody at that level that was doing their thing and filming all the best basketball players, wanting to be a part of that as a high school kid, and then seeing them recognize what we're doing out the garage, basically at that point, man, was just awesome. So I'm gonna let you finish, but yeah, it was cool when he hit me up.
Yeah, man. And so we met, and what I fell in love with, Maurice, man, about this whole process is that it is a process. And I don't have a hardware background or engineer background. I have more of a marketing background, and then just hearing how old he was when he started. He started this at 19. And people tend to only, see the success at the very end, not knowing, man, it took, Thomas is 25 today. That's 6 years in of like you said, man, taking one step after the other, after the other, after the other, and continuing to climb that mountain. And I'm, there's, he's pitched this product over 400 times. So like when I say the dude knows this business in and out, and been in meetings with people that got fat pockets that can invest, and he's done a tremendous job of just taking an idea. That's one thing we always talk about is anybody can have an idea. You can think about doing a podcast, think about starting a business, a clothing line, but it's that execution that really takes you over the hump. And he's been able to, like I said, man, put together a tremendous group of people that has taken him from, again, one step to the next. I've been around, like I said, about a little over 2 years. I've probably seen the machine change maybe like 4 or 5 different times. Maybe a little bit more than that, just based off of little individual pieces. Because when you're thinking about hardware, you're thinking about like someone had to take A and B and put it together. And then there's so much that goes into point A and point B and these pieces and how they work together, as opposed to software. You know what I'm saying? And where you can just change a button or two, or press a certain algorithm number or whatever, and now you have a different form of software. Hardware is completely different, and it takes a long time. But just to see the work that he's put in, and starting the company at 19, I always tell the same story, man. It reminds me of, and Mo, we about the same age. It reminds me of when, we heard that Nas, did Illmatic at 18 years old. At 18 years old, I wasn't thinking about writing no rhymes, and I damn sure wasn't trying to come up with no portable shooting machine. And so when you see people at that age that are able to like do those types of things, it's amazing to me. So I fell in love with just like the way he thought and how he put it together. And then the product itself, I mean, come on, man. It's a portable shooting machine. He hit on the points of it being portable. You can take it to your driveway, take it to the gym, take it to the park. And then now it's affordable. So now, Thomas's parents, my parents, your parents, they can afford to buy this for their kid. And it does collapse and fold down into a duffel bag, weighs about 100 pounds. And the price point is $1,500, right? So all the things, and like you mentioned earlier, solving that problem, we've definitely done that. And it's been a tremendous ride. It's been a tremendous ride, man. We've had a lot of ups and downs, and just at it every single day, man, trying to figure out, how we can improve the company, and get into the right people's hands, man, to really make this thing fly off the shelves. And we've done a really good job, man, since launch during COVID, which is the irony of the whole thing. We've had some success with it.
Yeah, so a little bit about that, just really quick, piggybacking off of what Mo said. We actually sold out of our first batch during COVID, whether it's customers just being at home and wanting the machine because they're in everybody's in quarantine, right? It was really interesting seeing that. But selling out during COVID was one of our just high points. It was just like, man, like we from the garage all the way to all these iterations, launching during the pandemic and selling out and doing great, raising capital and getting all the traction that we got. It was really great to see that validation through through the market.
It must have been equally, I don't know, mind blowing. I guess did people like post on social media with them using their machine and so forth? And what was that like seeing them actually use it in the way you envisioned?
Yeah, so actually so we pre-ordered everything. So we pre-ordered from March to July, and we're delivering here in November. So we're actually in the middle of manufacturing right now,
Okay.
going through all the sourcing. So come November, we'll start seeing everybody use their machine, get them reviews. Man, we're excited about it. We're really excited.
Yeah, that's really got to be something because even when you see athletes who get their signature shoe, they're blown away when they see somebody in real life they come across wearing the shoe, whether it be a kid or whatever else, and it's just like, wow, that's mine. I had a hand in that. There's a lot of pride that goes into that. It kind of catches you off guard as far as the humility it brings to you, as far as really seeing something come to life. I don't think there's anything that can compare to that kind of a feeling.
Man, we're looking forward to it. Definitely looking forward to that. Seeing it in the park or a gym being used, just passing by, man. We're excited to see it.
And I imagine you don't even have to say like, "Oh, hey, I did that." It's just seeing it, and it's yours. That's all you need.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how you guys react when you first see it. Can you talk about like you said, and I find this interesting because if you look back into the history of this country, and this is not widely known, but there are so many minorities, especially in our community, that have created inventions that have turned the tide for the whole world. Black man invented the stoplight, all these other things. Even a black guy invented the super soaker, something that he had to fight to get the rights to, and he finally won and got all that back pay, millions and millions. But there are just so many inventions in our history. And, going through your process, did you feel the weight of, kind of the legacy of the inventions that we've made? And did you see that, did you get the respect due when it came to, hey, I'm an inventor. I came up with this idea. I'm seeing it through. Did you see the real life appreciation of that, or did you see kind of rub up against, some doubters in that regard?
Man, that's an interesting question. That's a really interesting question. That's loaded. But when I started, I always felt like I had to do it for the legacy, right? It was whenever I was younger, it was always about money because we didn't know, our family never had a whole bunch of money or anything like that. But as I got older, it consistently, gradually became about legacy. Always like that became like the new foundation as I got older. And by the time I was building Grind, like that was it. It was like, I'm trying to leave a legacy. And Coach Henderson, my high school coach, actually instilled that mindset into me during what was it, ninth grade. And it was just like you had to have that mindset. Now, we definitely had folks that didn't believe and didn't think we could get it in a duffel bag. No, that's crazy. You can't do it. Some of our competitors copying things that we're doing, which was really interesting. And it was just like, I don't know if, I guess your question was, did I feel like, I don't even label myself as an inventor because I've had so much help with engineers and, just building a company like that and leaving the legacy of Grind to inspire change, you know what I'm saying? And show kids that they can be mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, and also be from Acres Homes or Third Ward or Fifth Ward, right? And that doesn't matter, right? You could be a software developer, you could be a CEO and be from where George Floyd was from, right? So I think that's been the main focus for me, is just building Grind as a brand to leave a legacy, right? That's way bigger than just Thomas Fields, right? And way much larger than what I could what I could leave, right? What I can leave myself, I think, is a legacy with the people that I come in contact with, like family and friends, and the people within this company, and ultimately have everybody build this company to leave a legacy on the world, and say we've been able to change a little part of this world, for the better, because I think it needs it. I think it needs a whole lot of change, but ultimately, hopefully, we can contribute to some of that change.
Dope.
Yeah, I would just piggyback on that, real briefly. Sometimes you go into things, with that in mind, and then sometimes you just go in because this is what you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And not necessarily knowing the legacy or the imprint that you're creating. And once it's done, then you look back and like, damn, I really did that, or we really did this. And I think it takes, like you mentioned, a lot of patience, a lot of like stick to itiveness. That's why basketball or just sports in general, it just teaches you that at a young age. It allows you to be able to, overstand, or kind of develop that toughness and that thick skin, to be able to continue to push through. Because I'm sure, like I said, I've been around 2 years. I'm sure there were days where Thomas was like, "Man, is it even really worth it?" You know what I mean? I'm finding all these roadblocks, because at the end of the day, you're creating something that you couldn't go to anybody that you personally knew to help. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody. It's different with if I coming up and I'm, my family is rich and we have all these resources and access to capital and people that I can say, oh, I have an idea to do this, and someone can make it happen for me. But when you have no idea what you're doing and you don't know who to go to or where to turn, those type of moments, man, are legendary, because you'll look back and you be like, God dang, that's crazy. You know what I mean? Like that's what it came to. So I'm sure, and that's another thing too, Maurice, man. Grind is not just for basketball. We have other sports that we are flirting around with, and again, it's that training, sports technology for athletes. So there could be something in boxing that we develop, something in soccer, something in track and field, football, to continue to just kind of push the envelope. And again, it's gonna take a lot of muscle. But once like anything, man, once you do it once, you can do it again.
Okay. Yeah, I like the idea of that. So let's kind of I don't know if you guys have ever seen the movie Time Cop or Looper, where the older self goes back to the younger self. So if you could go back in time to your younger self, what would you tell yourself about,
Hey
some of the
man,
pitfalls you've had to face?
he's already young, man. He's 25.
I don't know
Hey,
if
he's
I
been doing it
qualify.
for 6 years. We can go back 6 years.
I don't know if I qualify for that yet, man. But I don't know. Honestly, I still feel I don't. I definitely have seen the growth in the company and myself and the people around me. But man, if I could go back and tell myself something, man, it's just I have no idea. Maybe Mo could help me. Maybe to not stress out or something. But for the most part, I wasn't really stressed when I was doing it because I needed the machine. You know what I mean? So it was a different motivation, or like whether it worked or not. Like I needed the actual product that I was building. So at the end of the day, I would tell myself I would get down. There were some days where I would just be like, man, I don't know if anybody's gonna buy this. Like, yeah, it's portable and it's affordable, but will people actually buy this? Will enough people actually buy this? And I was like, well, at the end of the day, I need one anyway. So I'm building my own. I'm building my own essentially, right? By the time I got through it already, I was back into the mindset of like, all right, we good, we gonna make it happen, blah blah blah, right? But whenever those down times came, I leaned on my passion and what I was doing it for, my why, the purpose of it, and if anything, I'll build a couple more to help other kids that needed it, keep going, right? So ideally, we want this to be a huge business, huge company going into multi sports and stuff like that. But yeah, man, that's kind of what I leaned on.
Yeah, I got something to add. This is actually pretty funny, man. So when I first came around, and like I said, I've seen several different versions of the machine before it became finalized, man. And I used to always tell Thomas like, "Hey, man, you got to show the ugly baby." And it was a while where he, it's almost like being a barber or something, and you don't want to show nobody your very first time cutting someone's hair because you're probably gonna mess it up. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, nah, man, you gotta show it. You gotta put this in front of the people because only the flaws of the device. The public have no idea, what it's supposed to look like because you know what? They've never seen one before. You know what I'm saying? And so I remember always telling him like we got to put it out there. We got to get it out there. And eventually we took it to a couple basketball tournaments, and the reception was crazy because nobody's ever seen a machine like that folded to a duffel bag. So we're not necessarily selling you anything that you haven't seen. Yeah, we know what we know what a shooting machine looks like. We've seen those. We've never seen one that's portable. And I always tell this story, and like I said, Mo, you and I are about the same age. So I remember for me, it was take me back to 8th grade year. Thomas heard this story about 50,000 times. But going back to my 8th grade year, never forget this day, man. I'm in 8th grade. This is 1993, and we're doing recess or something, man.
I wasn't even born yet.
Yeah, Thomas wasn't even born yet. You know what I'm saying? So this is 93, and it's this girl, man, I went to grammar school with. Her name was Dana Perry. And Dana had a CD player. I tell this story all the time because it freaked me out. Because, Mo, we came from the era of cassettes. So it was always rewinding and you're trying to get to the beginning of the song. And you be rewinding, going back, trying to find that spot. So you're like, no, a CD player, you just hit the button and then go to the next song. It's my first time seeing it. I was freaking out. Like, what is that? And when we take the machine to people to see for the very first time, that's their reaction because they're used to seeing it. Obviously, a big machine that you're shooting on to catch your rebounds. But once we collapse it, they're like, "Wait a minute, you just roll it? You gonna roll that thing out the gym?" It just freaked people out. So that was kind of the wow factor we saw when people initially, laid eyes on the ugly baby, and we just had to get it out there, man. So for me personally, what I tell my older self or my younger self, man, probably intersect during my college years. I only really hung around like my basketball teammates. I wish I would have, ventured off into other segments of my school. I probably would have met a Thomas. I probably would have met, someone that was an engineer or someone that was, into film or whatever the case may be. So I tell my kids all the time, venture out, don't hang with the same circle, move around, man. So I would definitely tell myself that as a young person.
Yeah, I think a lot of successful businesses, whether you have a tangible product or service or whatever else, if you can sell convenience, you are going to make a killing. And it looks like you guys have found a way to sell convenience. This is for, like you said, you need to go get some shots up. Coach couldn't open the gym. Hey, you got your own shooting machine. let me go over here to the park or wherever there's a goal, So when you can sell convenience like that, that's a huge leg up. So it's gonna go as far as that's concerned. So I kind of want to take it back a little bit. Obviously, when you have a shooting machine, you play basketball. All of us, all three of us, we love basketball. Our lives center around basketball. So I wanted to kind of throw in a brown sugar moment. Remember when they said, "When did you fall in love with hip hop?" So when did you fall in love with basketball, and why?
Oh man, I fell in love with basketball when I was 7 years old. Yeah, man, I was learning how to dribble. I was at my grandma's house, and man, I just started obsessing about throwing that ball through between my legs and trying to get that between the legs down. Then I started getting the back behind the back, and at that point, I was just gone, man. I just fell in love with it from that point. But yeah, I was 7 years old when I fell in love with ball.
For me, I think I was a little younger, man. Like one of my early childhood memories is being at the park with my mom and my sister and one of my cousins. I might have been like 4, and I just remember like not being good. Obviously, I'm 4 years old, and my sister is 8 years older, so she beat me up and taking the ball from me. And I just remember like in that moment, like I'm gonna get better at this. Somehow, some way, I'm gonna get better at this. And I just remember from that day on, man, like always playing, always watching. I had a Jordan jammer at the crib, and I remember, watching the game, and I was trying to mimic what I saw them doing on TV, and I came in, I just dunked it. It was, obviously it was low, but I just remember like the creativity of the sport, and the excitement of it. It's that back and forth. It's the competitiveness of it, and like I said, the creativity. So much you can do with that ball. For me, that's what like just made me fall in love with it, and it's something that like I know so many athletes that play 2 sports because I ran track in high school, and I probably would have been a better track athlete if I would have just dedicated myself and practice and all that, but I didn't care about it. I wanted to hoop. And there's something about basketball. Most athletes that play 2 sports, if it's basketball associated, if basketball is one, and it could be football, it could be anything else, their love is going to reside into basketball 9 out of 10 times. I don't know what it is about the sport, but you can't shake it.
Yeah, I remember for me, I was late to basketball. Growing up, I don't know, for whatever reason, me and the neighborhood kids, we all played football. We played football on the grass, just on concrete. Just don't tackle too hard. Whatever. So my first love was football, and I remember one of my good friends, he got hurt really bad, and it was threat of paralyzation. And I was like, man, I don't know if I should be playing football anymore. And it just so happened around that time, I'm dating myself here, but I remember seeing, and I think it was because of one of my family members, maybe my uncle or somebody. I was watching the Detroit Pistons, Bad Boys. This is before they started winning and whatever, And what stood out to me was Isaiah Thomas. And he instantly became my favorite player. And I just wanted to be Isaiah Thomas. So I started, playing basketball because of him. And like you said, I was trying to, do the emulating of the dribbling through the legs. I mean, because Isaiah was the original ball handling fool before like Kyrie Irving and people like that. You need to go back and watch. I mean, that boy was nasty with that rock. He had it on the string. And so I would just start dribbling. I couldn't shoot a lick, but I just wanted to dribble all the time. And I was kind of in a weird space because my favorite team was the Detroit Pistons, but I was in the Bay. So, of course, I started watching, the Warriors. So I had like two favorite teams, the Warriors and the Pistons. So it's kind of weird. And then I started actually going out and trying out for the team, and all through my playing days, and I wore number 11 because of Isaiah Thomas. And because of Isaiah Thomas, I have a kind of a disdain for Michael Jordan. But we won't get into that. Even though I still recognize him as the best player ever. I kind of have a little grudge against him because of what he did. Their feud or whatever. I carried it with me. But that's why I fell in love with it. Can you take us to where we obviously all love basketball. My outlet for basketball turned into writing. Mo's outlet turned into film production, things like that. Yours turned into developing players, making things convenient for them, putting yourself in their shoes to help them to their goal. How do you, I guess, all of us want to go pro, obviously. So, neither of us made that happen, but, where are you with kind of your place in basketball? How do you view your place in the grand scope of the game? And, kind of where do you see yourself kind of adding more to it, down the line?
Yeah, man. It's funny how you said Isaiah, man. I remember going to school. Right before school, I would watch NBA classics. So I used to watch those games too, but they were the NBA classics. I used to study Isaiah. I used to study Magic Johnson with the no looks, and Larry Bird was one of my favorite players, man. So I was a student of the game for sure. But whenever I transitioned and realized I wasn't going to be a basketball player long term, I started reading about business and just learning more about business, trying to be a student of the game in business, right? And coming out of high school, I was a little more just monetary focused on money and things like that. But I was reading, right? That was the interest in business in me. And then it became more about purpose. And as I found the product and the problem that sat in this sports world, I felt like I was like the best individual in the world to solve this problem for athletes in making interactive sports equipment accessible and designed beautifully for athletes, right? That's where I feel like I fit in the basketball world, is designing products that are beautifully designed with great individuals, with a great company, great engineers, and designing them specifically to solve problems for athletes, right? It's simple, right? But really focusing in on, taking this high level equipment and just making it simply for athletes, right? So whether it needs to be portable, it has to be portable, right? There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. We're not in it for the money, right? That'll come. We're in it for changing lives and really helping kids reach those dreams, whether they tear their ACL or not. And if they don't get to that next level, right, whether they tear their ACL or they just decide that they don't want to play basketball or didn't get a scholarship, right? I want Grind to be that company that tells them, okay, you didn't make it, but you can be an engineer too. You can be, you can start your own company. You can be in the tech community, and it's cool, right? Because that's what we do, right? That's what we need to do, right? And it's just Nike. I don't think Nike is telling that story. I don't think Adidas is telling that story from an authentic point of view, right? I think they definitely do well in the community, but I think there needs to be more of that, and there needs to be like extreme focus in that if we really want our communities, minorities, Black, Hispanic, just in general, just to come up as people. I think we need extreme focus in that area and inspiration, but not only inspiration, but design-driven approaches to solving these problems, right? So I think to me, my focus is building the best sports equipment that for athletes, but also building a brand that inspires and actually makes a change in these communities for these communities.
We can't hear you, Mo.
I'll just piggyback on that real quick, man, and just add to what Thomas said. I think I don't think Thomas really understands. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he really understands what he's doing and what he's done. No, seriously, like, because you don't find 25-year-olds, black and brown people, right, that have created something you're not a player, not a GM, you're not a coach, you're not a trainer. You created a product that will transcend and last for decades. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might mess around being in the Hall of Fame somewhere just based off of this concept and this idea that you started when you were 19. So I say that with all due respect that you don't understand. But I don't think you really get that part yet, man. And once you get that part, you're gonna look back on it like, wow, like I did that. We created that. And if you think about it, man, 10, 15 years down the road, what will grind look like? How many design products will we have in the marketplace, for various sports? And think about that. 10 years from now, you'll be 35. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's just I think what you created, again, it wasn't a t-shirt business. It wasn't, you made something that we traditionally don't create. And that's just a salute to just the dedication, man, and the hard work. I'm gonna tell you something real quick. You got 3 people on the line that are huge fans of Nipsey Hussle. You know what I'm saying? So I know that I know Maurice is a big fan, huge fan. I'm a huge fan. I know you listen to his music, and like the things that people are catching up on Nip now, we already heard, seen, felt, while he was here. And I'm thinking the same way for your legacy, is that I don't think people didn't know what Nip really meant until he passed away. Most people, you know what I'm saying? And I say that because the legacy that you'll leave, you don't really understand it yet, because you're kind of still in it. You're still in the midst of it. But once you're able to take a step back, man, like I say, 10, 15 years from now, you'll look back on this moment and it's going to be like, wow, mind blowing.
Man, I hope so, man. Rest in peace, Nipsey, man. I tried to get braided up before this call, man. I got busy. I couldn't happen, but yeah, I'm usually braided up for that, man. I grew up with wearing braids. My braids were about this long. Like, I had long hair, right? When Nipsey passed, I had to grow it out, man. But nah, man, that's appreciate that, Mo. But man, I think, even though I didn't start a shirt company, I did start one when I was 18, 17, 16, something like that, right? So I think, and it failed. Nobody bought the shirts, right? So I got a whole bunch of shirts at the house, in the garage probably, or something. But I think, like, kids, whenever they're young, they just gotta go do it. Just go do things, right? Go fail, go, push some shirts out, push this, push that. I sold burned CDs when I was in middle school. I sold candy in elementary and middle school. I sold fruit cups until the cafeteria lady put me out of business. Man, so like, I was doing a whole bunch of things when I was in middle school and high school that I think just when whenever I talk to kids and they're talking about trying to get some money and try to buy the new Jordans or new PS5, it's just, man, like, go figure out how to make something yourself, whether it's t-shirts or fruit cups, and that sets the foundation for whenever you actually come into an idea or an opportunity like that.
So now I see where the name grind came from. You were sounds like you were always grinding from day one. And even though it didn't work, you still put work into it. You still grinded. You still came up with ideas. You still
Yeah.
brought it to fruition. Had to be smacked like, hey, you can't do that. But you kept going, and you can't really tamp down that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. It's gonna come out some kind of way.
Especially when it's embedded in your culture in music everywhere you listen. You know, right and left. They talking about grinding, putting in work. It was just like constantly instilled in me. It's just like that's who we are. If you listen to that music, that's who you are. You know what I'm saying? It just becomes a part of you and part of your mindset. And yeah, man, if you apply those things to what you want to do, I think it's a recipe for success.
So now, because of you, I got that Nip song "Grinding All My Life" stuck in my head. I'm trying to, I'm trying not to get that song out of my head so I can keep going. But I think now I can see why you had the simpatico because Nipsey was a real grinder. Even so much so as his own career. He bet on himself. He could have blew up a long time ago, but he saw the long game. He saw the ownership of his own music and being able to make his own choices and things like that. So when you play the long game and you keep your integrity, you don't sell out because a lot of times people think sell out is that one other thing, but you can also sell out your ownership. You can also sell out your beliefs. You can sell out, your original ideas to things that you don't really believe in, but you see a check coming. So all of those things are very important, and you've taken the long road. So obviously, you're gonna have your integrity through this product and whatever other products you have, coming in the future. Um, so
Yeah,
we all basketball guys, so I can't let y'all skate out of here without talking about kind of this new reality. Have you guys enjoyed the bubble and the product that the NBA has kind of put forth during this time?
Um, initially, man, I'll be honest with you, man. I was totally against the bubble. I felt like, in order to really create the change we were looking for, that we shouldn't have played. Um, Now I know that's a lot of money at stake for these players, and I can't count their pockets, but or how they spend their money or make their money. But I thought that it would have been a better idea to not play, like just to sit out the whole season. And it was just a lot going on in society. Now, obviously, I'm a basketball fan, so once games started coming on, I mean, obviously, I'm watching. But I will say, initially, I was totally against it. That's a form of selling out, in a sense, right? um, but again, teachers on, they got to do what they got to do. But the games itself, man, has been really entertaining. Um, you know, I've enjoyed it. I've definitely enjoyed it. I've seen some guys who were kind of teetering on, stardom really like blossom and take off. We've seen Tyler Hero. Like I think I might tweeted the other day. I was a fan of him in high school. Didn't really see much of anything when he was at Kentucky from my perspective. Um, but that out here killing. The white boy swagged up. You know what I mean? He'd be out there going to work. Um, and then the John Morant's and Jamal Murray's, the Joker. I got the Nuggets beating the Lakers. Now everybody say I'm crazy, but I got to win in the series. You know what I'm saying? It should be 2-1, but we're gonna see what happens. And then there was some disappointment as well. Like I didn't understand the way the Rockets were playing. I never seen Russ play that bad. It just so it was kind of like just kind of a weird dynamic. Um, Paul George. I never seen Paul George disappear the way in which he did. Playoff P, but he
You got to change that name.
I know, right?
That's gone.
It's out of there. So I think we all wanted to see the Lakers and the Clippers. But I mean, these Nuggets, man, tonight when they're getting ready to play in about an hour or so, hey man, Nuggets get this one, man. It's 2-2. Can't count them boys out. And then I like the Miami Heat squad.
That's my dark horse.
Yeah, they remind me of the Piston squad, man, with Big Ben Wallace and Rasheed and those guys, man. There's not like on paper you would always say that Jimmy Butler is the star of the team, but they all they all play like as a collective, man, really, really well together. Locked in on defense. You might get 37 from Tyler tonight. Tomorrow, Jimmy might give you 40. He might have 10. Dragic may have 25. Jay Crowder chipping in with 15. Iguodala might get you 20. Like, they just got a lot of different pieces that kind of work really well together. And I think if they meet the Lakers in the playoff, even though I got the Nuggets, if they meet the Lakers in the playoff, there's no I'm afraid of LeBron James on that squad. Iggy can check him because he's done it before. So can Jay Crowder. So now it's been a really good. I like the bubble, man. Like I said, I was against it for different reasons, but once you start toss the ball up, and I'm all eyes in.
Man, I wish I had more of an opinion around this stuff, man. I wish I watched basketball more, to be honest with you. I'll be in this lab. I work nights too. Man, man, I wish I could catch more games, man. I didn't even know half the people know games. Say again, Mo?
I'll say you working 2 jobs. You got the grind, and then you got the other job. You know what I'm saying? So you grinding all over the place. So
yeah, I work a night shift, shoveling the mud on the side. I've been there for about a year, man. Just to conserve capital on grind side and push more marketing, push more content, push more product development. But man, I wish I watched more basketball. To be completely honest, man, I hear my girlfriend is a basketball player. I hear all the updates from her. To be honest with you, man. So I don't know. I think the bubble was pretty interesting, man. So we'll see what continues to happen. I'll try to update Mo every once in a while. So I'll try to stay on top a little more.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Mo to an extent. I was on the fence. I didn't know if I wanted him to play, didn't want him to play. I tried to take myself out of it, from a selfish point of view. And I wanted to see, okay, well, what would be the best? And what I kind of landed on was, if you go back, the NBA was the first league to really shut down, and really kind of the world followed. So once it became quote unquote real, and they had to stop an NBA game, then it got real serious, and then everybody else started to lock down and really take this thing serious. So I felt like, okay, well, if the NBA was the leaders in the exiting, they could be the leaders in coming back. So I looked at it from that perspective, and then also, I kind of weighed the idea of, okay, would their voices be louder not playing or playing? So on the one hand, they could have hamstrung the owners and kind of made them kind of dig into their pockets and make things happen from that perspective. But from a public relations, everyman knowledge, playing would get them more of the word out, because every night they got to be interviewed, and all of them have been using their platform to constantly speak out about Breonna Taylor and other things like that. So I've appreciated that aspect of it. And then just like you said, once they threw the ball up, I'm watching. Yeah, there's no I'm not going to lie about that. I'm watching. So I didn't have a dog in the fight. Obviously the Warriors didn't make it, but I thought the Clippers, I was like, okay, it'd be a nice story to see them finally shake off that curse, whatever, but man, they really blew it. They just really imploded. So outside of them, I'd like to see the Heat do something. to me, they're the most complete team I've seen in quite some time. I like to say they form like Voltron because everybody knows their role and they excel in their role. Too many times you got players out there, they just playing. They don't know their role, or they're trying to do things outside of their role, or they're trying to shine. They're trying to do whatever. You got Jimmy Butler. He's supposed to be the superstar. He'll pass the ball. He'll give it up. He don't care about how many points he get. He'll jive on the floor. I mean, and he'll also bring up his teammates. When Tyler Hero had that breakout game, he was his biggest fan. He was the loudest one chirping. Oh man, look what he did. And I think when you have a leader, because a true leader is the kind of person that creates other leaders. It's not just about, okay, I'm going to lead you over here and I'm getting the credit. A real leader can create other leaders, and now they can go out and lead and create other leaders, and it just kind of flows from there. And that's the difference between Jimmy Butler and a LeBron James. LeBron James is a great leader, but he's not creating leaders. Jimmy Butler is, and he's doing it in his own way. He's gruff, he's gritty, but if you really study what he's doing, he's trying to create leaders, and some people are against it. That's why he had so much trouble in Minnesota. He was trying to make a leader out of Karl Towns. He was trying to make a leader out of Wiggins, and they were against it. They didn't know, they didn't understand what he was trying to do. And I think Miami, they understand that, and he's bringing it along, and that team is going to surprise some people. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you.
No, I agree, man. That team is definitely, like you said, man. They complete, form like Voltron. Great coaching, great. Pat Riley is still at the helm. Just top to bottom, and they got some really, really solid pieces. So yeah, I agree. I think that they're my favorite to win it all. It wasn't like that going in though. I think going in, I was thinking more of Toronto or Boston out the East.
I thought my Milwaukee Bucks were going to make it, but man,
yeah, wasn't gonna make it.
Same thing. They just blew up.
Yeah, man. So it's been good. It's been interesting for sure.
Oh yeah. So we'll have to see and kind of see who had the right prediction. Well, hey man, it's been a pleasure having both of you on. Really appreciate your perspectives and your drive and quote unquote your grind. I think we need a lot more highlights on this type of grind, this kind of creativity, this kind of problem solving, and for real, this kind of leadership and people to look forward to, because it's not just athletes, it's not just entertainers. There are entrepreneurs out here with spirit who come up with ideas and they see it to fruition. And the tough lesson is you've got to stay in there for the long haul. It's not going to come easy. It's not going to be microwave quick. You've got to have fortitude. You've got to have patience. You've got to have grind, and you got to be able to, like Maurice said earlier, you have to pivot. So I appreciate you guys for telling that story. And to all the rebels out there, make sure you go check out Grind Basketball at grindbasketball.com. See what these guys are doing. Keep an eye on the product, and when it rolls out and kind of people get to really put it in action and kind of start sharing that story. I'm looking forward to that as well. I'd like to thank everyone for hanging out with us. Make sure you like and subscribe. We drop each and every Thursday on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, wherever you like to find your podcasts. You can look at us, listen to us. It's your choice. So for our special guests, Maurice Elrod, Thomas Field, and myself, we'll see you next time, and please stay rebellious.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Thank you guys.